Feel the rhythm of the streets, neon lights and neon dreams. Bloody fists, they feel no pain when there's so much more to gain. Hunting season, if you will, tell me where'd you rather be? I can hardly see the moon, hope we'll get there pretty soon. Trying so hard to release you out of the misery. Hold on to your wishes if you can't hold on to me. Forgive me for letting you down. Forgive me for letting you down again. I guess I'm not strong enough right now. Forgive me for letting you down. Forgive me for letting you down again. I guess I'm not strong enough right now. Oh my
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is your T-shirted historian, and it's good to see you guys again. If you've been following me on Twitter, those of you who are still using Twitter, seems like a lot of people are like, "No, Elon Musk, no!" But I think most of my friends are still on it, and probably happier these days. But yeah, I've been posting up a lot of pictures of a lot of the old game books that I have in storage because I'm going through my storage to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Because I've got lots and lots of books and lots of accessories, modules, and all this stuff. And I just not, it's like all my tabletop games. It's like I just have so many that it's like I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. Maybe I'll raffle them off or figure out something. But yeah, it's actually kind of fun to go back and look through them and kind of see some of those old treasures and see who else has them or who else knows about them and all that. It's been a lot of fun. So anyway, let's take a look at our panel today. We got a new person on the panel today. We have Mr. Shinatsky, who's muted and probably watching anime.
Hey,
Hey,
good for us to talk with us.
no, he's cool. Shinatsky, you want to tell us about your background a little bit?
I've worked on games, anime, and currently I'm working on getting some film stuff off the ground, which is a giant pain in the ass.
Okay, what kind of anime did you work on? Like games? Like
I worked on Bubblegum Crisis
Yeah,
Nice.
and Otaku no Video.
yeah. I remember Otaku no Video.
the original productions back in the 80s, like in Japan, or like the Blu-ray release, or
No, the Blu-ray re-releases.
oh, okay, cool.
I've got those. I don't have Otaku no Video on Blu-ray, but I do have Bubblegum Crisis, Bubblegum Crash on Blu-ray. Actually, I'm not sure if I have Crash on Blu-ray, but I know I have Crisis. And
No, I don't think there ever was. I know AnimeGo did the DVD, but I think in part because it was whoever the current rights owners, well, not they're not exactly like Crash because it was kind of technically legally done, because just the rights for Bubblegum Crisis were a bloody mess after everything fell apart.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, if you haven't picked up Otaku no Video on Blu-ray, you're unlikely to do so. It is out of print completely. But it's hilarious. Easily worth watching if you haven't seen it.
I had it on VHS years ago.
I've never seen it. No, I've never even heard of it.
It's basically about it's kind of it's a documentary, but not really. It's like fictional, but it's about the guys who created Gainax, who is the famous studio who did Neon Genesis Evangelion and all these famous shows. And it was about just in the 80s, like these nerds were super obsessed with anime and they got sucked into it and they made their own company. So it's like just kind of a funny, like there's a lot of comedy about like how nerdy they are and like how the industry just shits all over them at one point, but it's all kind of true. It's just kind of like a true story just about the rise of, Gainax. Highly recommended if you're like into like nerd culture stuff. Like you want to see where it came from back in the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they do these live action interviews, which are all actually completely and utterly fabricated and by people in the actual staff. They even have one where a guy's talking English and they have they're translating for him. It's completely different.
All right. Yeah, that was good stuff back in the day. Yeah, just an old guy mentions Tank Police. Yeah, it'd be fun to find Tank Police again. It'd be fun to find all those old anime because I'll be honest, man. It's like I think I never really got out of 80s anime because so much of it was so good.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in the 80s and 90s, firmly parked.
Yeah, I've managed to.
They had the money back then to blow on quality stuff because they had the bubble economy, and then when that crashed, that's why things really changed.
Our other panelists, of course, are the wonderful Victor Gorchev.
Yeah, sorry, I felt a sneeze coming up, so but
okay.
I'm in the clear. Yeah, hi everyone.
I have Greg from Iries.
Hello.
And is your Indiegogo still going?
It is.
Okay, good.
I need some more help on that.
All right, well, we'll plug you again so that maybe some more people will get the word out. And of course, the awesome Iron Guester, the guy who I lean on him for most of my news because I'm just too busy during the week, and for some reason he's able to keep up with it.
It has come to my attention that you are currently not buying enough Wizards of the Coast product, so I need you guys to start giving me some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had Grim, who bounced out, and he's back.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, my USB all crapped out at the same time. So.
Nice.
Oh boy, that's not good to have a failing USB cord.
No.
There were also a couple of Twitter users who wanted to come on the show, and I asked them if they still want to, and haven't gotten a response yet, but hopefully they will. If anybody knows Lord Brian or so, or Dying Breed Tabletop, reach out to them and say, hey, you still coming on? But yeah, I don't know why people wanted to be on a YouTube show, so I'm like, okay, here you go.
Because we're a friendly bunch.
I just wanted to talk more about tabletop stuff because the two of the big ones have gone completely to shit. I mean, I prefer like Free League or even Art Telsorian lately to Wizards of the Coast and World of Darkness.
Yeah, I think it's great to actually be able to look at a lot of these older games and just see that, just see what it is that we kind of, in some cases, we've lost it. And in some cases, there were games that I really didn't know much about the origin of. Like when I picked up Cult, Vampire the Masquerade was out already. So I thought, well, Cult is it's derivative, or it's somebody looking to cash in on the dark craze. And I had to be corrected on Twitter by somebody who actually knew about Cult, and they said no, they came out about the same time. He said, but Cult was more of a inspired by Clive Barker than it was by White Wolf and Vampire. And another game that came out at that time was The Whispering Vault, which I have a copy of it somewhere. I just have to find it. It's kind of that's my thing, is like a lot of my stuff is still buried, and I'm still looking through boxes to see what's what and where it is, or if I still have it anymore. Because I've had a couple of moves.
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Well, original Vampires, for as I can tell, it seemed like, Anne Rice was one of the huge inspirations for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely for the Toreadors.
That whole slew of like 80s and 90s like romantic vampire stuff. Where being a vampire apparently turns you at least bisexual.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like it's a toss-up. I mean, would you rather have bisexual vampires, or would you rather have sparkly ones?
I don't know. I'll take the bisexual ones. It's fine. I'll be one.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Vampires.
Yeah, if you thought things were going bad,
everywhere.
We had no idea how bad it was going to get. Like now. It's now like complaining about bisexual vampires. Like, oh, that's cute. We had sparkly ones that, and I'm dead serious about this. They're basically fairies. Like Stephanie Meyer took the mythology of fairies and then just changed the name to vampires.
Well, I'm pretty sure that entire craze is mostly over with. I don't ever hear anyone talking about it. Like, I think vampires in general are just kind of like old hat at this point.
Kind of like zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, long term, like there's like nobody out here talking about the Twilight stuff. It's just like it's like a battle scar we haven't like gotten over. We have vampire PTSD from Twilight.
Yeah.
Hey, you're talking about the Twilight vampire. For a minute, I thought you were talking about T2K, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got Twilight 2000. I love that game, but no. My brain is still in games and less on movies. But Violence Solves Everything says early Vampire Mage Werewolves are from the same guys that went on to do Fading Suns. Like, yeah, I have a few Fading Suns books.
Yeah, I've got some of the old ones.
Mm-hmm. Current day Onyx Path has Looney left, and the guys from Fading Suns have butchered that game in the Ulysses Spiel version. Wow, that's not too good. The guys from Onyx Path were contacting us today to tell us, like, hey, Aeon and Trinity and stuff like that are out. And I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, they were out before.
Yeah. Hey, Captain Affinity.
I don't think it's that they're loony. I think it's just that they run in fear of the Twitter mobs and so on. Because, they were deliberately being edgy for quite a while and got a lot of shit for it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm an edgelord, but I do kind of miss the edgy 90s gaming stuff. That's kind of why I bought a lot of those books that I did, because I thought, oh, this is dark, edgy, and cool, and I like it. Because prior to that, we hadn't really seen anything like that. I mean, say what you will, but D&D is still kind of wholesome, especially after they, decided to change all the names of the demons and the devils and stuff like that.
To like Dave and Terrence.
Yeah.
Neville.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Larry.
Never left the
Cyberpunk
nether
was
realm.
never like super duper grim dark or anything, and we had West End games, Star Wars, and Torg, and all these other things, and they really weren't horrific. So,
Well,
Well, the
somebody
funny
on
thing.
our,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, that's okay. I was saying that somebody on our Gilded chat posted a rumor, probably not true, that Wizards of the Coast was going to change or get rid of dwarves. They're not going to be called dwarf anymore because that's offensive. Imagine if they did that. Like, there's no way that's true, but I wouldn't put it past them.
What's offensive
Yeah.
about it? That's literally the mythical name of that creature.
They prefer
Like-
the term little people.
hey, Gen X Geek.
All magical woodland creatures.
Yeah.
Oh,
never
magical
done
woodland.
that.
Beard
All them-
midgets.
Frankly, I'm
All
surprised that
them
like
dinklages
Wizards of the
and be
Coast
done
is.
with it. There you go.
Frankly, I'm surprised that Wizards of the Coast is still calling them dwarves.
Yeah.
Dinklekin.
I wonder about that too. It's like,
They're
you
called
guys are very
dinklings.
brave. Tingling.
I
Well-
think the thing they would want to make sure that you can't end up misgendering them, because that was a big thing about dwarves, remember? They can't. Most people can't tell the males from the females
Huh.
because they both had beards, at least in the original Tolkien. Because halflings were originally hobbits in the the really early editions of D&D before the Tolkien estate went, guys, you can't do that.
I remember playing some old Korean MMO. I can't remember the name, but it had dwarves in it, and the male ones were just like the stereotypical like bearded like old men basically. But then the females were like basically looked like little girls. It was like really creepy.
Ew.
That is
Yeah.
the like Korean.
Yeah.
That is the Korean norm.
Yeah.
It's the Korean norm.
Yeah, go look at any Korean MMO. You'll see that tends to be the trend. You gotta have big buff looking dudes, and then like almost lollies.
Yeah.
For the
Genshin
females.
Impact Lord of the Rings crossover special coming soon.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna
Hey,
have.
hey, listen. What it tells us is that women are obviously far better at combat than men. Hence why they need to wear less armor.
Yeah, it only slows them down.
Facts do
Also,
not
I-
matter.
I have seen anime Lord of the Ring art with a lot of just Bishonen, like Twink, Legolas and stuff. So, yeah.
I like Cal Staff. I think they need to get rid of attributes because they're ableist. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
no,
right.
you can
You with
still-
your strength score.
You can still have those because you can get a wheelchair with like rocket power and hoverboard capability
Yeah.
and like force fields.
So,
I should have got
so
alcohol,
nice of the
shouldn't I?
dragons to make older
should have
dungeons
gotten alcohol.
wheelchair accessible now.
Yeah, I understand you don't touch WOTC D&D. I really don't either, except to make fun of it. But
How did we end up
as-
talking about that anyway?
because it's like Grib and I have said before. It's the 3-ton rhino in the room. You just can't ignore it. It's going to run over your game at some point, and if it doesn't, then the shit going on with it will spill over into something that you do enjoy eventually.
It basically leads the hobby. So what you wind up seeing with them winds up being where everything goes. I mean, remember the D20 modern glut.
Mm-hmm. I do. D20 Modern was good though.
No comment.
It's because there's so much of the market. It's basically they have that much control. It's what, like 85, 90% of the total tabletop market.
Yeah.
And
But
the
I
thing is like, and it's something I've been kind of pointing out is that with as much as we focus on the tabletop side of things, it's also worth paying attention to how Wizards of the Coast handles Magic the Gathering, because that makes far more money than D&D does.
And speaking of that, yeah, and speaking of that, apparently their fireside chat this week, they decided that they're going to just ship off all those unsold boxes of Magic the Gathering 30th anniversary edition. Is that right?
They didn't really mention it at all. I don't think. Maybe a
No, they
brief
did.
passing.
Yeah, they basically came out and said that they were gonna ship that out to some 6,000 WPN stores. I think it's like a few boxes to each store roughly. So basically, this is the corporate attempt to wash their hands of the whole thing entirely.
I remember when Magic Card Seller was like an insult to like a game store. You're just a Magic Card Seller.
Yeah,
it came
now
in, took over, didn't it?
It's yeah. If you're a game store now, you have to carry that product, otherwise you're gonna die. You know, because game sales are just not making it, especially with what WOTC is putting out these days. I mean, I don't know how well the newest books are selling. I mean, did Dragonlance sell okay or
unknown? All I know is that when I go to my local game store, they have shelves and shelves of 5th edition products and boxes stacked in the back room that they can't put out. They can't put the product out because they can't clear the shelf. Like, it just sits there forever. They have like Curse of Strahd stuff, like the old stuff. They have Ravnica and Theros, just all these tons of books. Like, nobody cares. Nobody's buying them.
I think Dragonlance might do alright just because of the name attached, but I don't think that Radiant Citadel or any of those other ones sold well.
The thing with Dragonlance is that so with that special license that D&D people can get to publish stuff that ties in with Wizards material, people are putting out corrections.
Yeah.
There's quite a big one that Margaret Weiss talked about on Facebook and basically gave her stamp of approval as, this is a book that fixes all the problems with it.
Yeah. The thing about Dragonlance, the thing that bewilders me about Wizards of the Coast is that it's a franchise that hasn't really been relevant or seen any kind of like release of any interest in like 20 plus years. So the only people who are still really into Dragonlance are like grognards, right? But grognards don't care about Wizards of the Coast stuff. So it's like, why are they releasing the product?
Yeah, I think they're finding out what we've been saying we suspect, in that a lot of these new players aren't particularly committed and aren't necessarily going to stick around, or at least not as much now they've got other options. Whereas the hardcore of players who they've completely turned off and turned away, that was always your core market that made your business work long term.
Oh, look, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. I remember last week I was asking about what the release schedule looked like for 2023, and our friend Green Dragon DM actually provided me with this so that we could go buy it. And very special thank you to you, Green Dragon. This is their product release schedule coming up. So apparently they're not going to be doing the whip it out as quick as we possibly can, back-to-back books. And I wonder if the reason they've got it spaced out the way they do is because they're allowing for time for their 3 sensitivity readers per writer.
Yeah.
who will get paid more than the actual creator, I guarantee you.
It could be
they will.
And we'll go on Twitter and take all the credit.
Yeah, and we're going to take a shot at that. Trust me.
Well, I think it is realistically just they want to get in 1 per quarter. Just again, trying to think about this from that corporate mindset that the fireside chat was very much filtered through.
I think that they're funneling their resources into the digital platform. I think that's why they're trying to slow down on this.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that now? Because the more I hear about their plans and their attitude, the more I think we are at another Pathfinder fork.
I'm curious to see how that goes. Because I know nothing about keys from the Golden Shower. Or I mean Vault.
The Glory Hall of the Giants.
The Glory Hole of the Giants, as far as I know, is not going to be against the Giants reprinted, because apparently that was already reprinted in Tales from the Yawning Portal. So I don't know if it's going to be like a continuation of that or something else.
Wait, isn't Bigby like a higher end
Mage?
company that?
Yeah.
No, the Bigby is like a high end company that makes really nice versions of these things. Like they put out like a $300 or $400 version of Curse of Strahd.
No, I don't think so.
No, Bigby is a in-world character. He's like
Yeah.
one of them. That you've got Bigby's whatever hand, like that spell, like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You had
He's
Big
like-
B
he's-
and Rigby and all those guys.
Yeah.
The problem
Yeah,
that
they're big
happened,
hand
was-
characters.
and obviously I haven't been around you guys, so I haven't been, as hardcore into the news with some of the tabletop scene. Though I did know some people that used to work for WOD back in the day. Basically, they forsaked the old audience because Critical Role was the thing,
Mhm.
and then they hyper focused on that, and so they've basically killed off their older audience, and they have their newer audience is basically fickle Twitch streaming people who just aren't going to stick around. Like when something else comes along, they're going to jump ship.
Well, they obviously don't realize that because as Grim was introducing the discussion on the digital platform, it seems like Wizards of the Coast is expecting their digital people to stick around and spend money and like be whales and just spend tons and tons of money on this crap, and they're going to nickel and dime.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan from the things we've heard. And I think that and the VTT is why we're going to see another Pathfinder fork, essentially.
Exactly. They're going to be like, here's a new subclass, 199. Here's a new species, 299. No.
And because next tier companies can't afford to invest in a high-end VTT and all that kind of material and support. So there's going to necessarily be a fork between the two just because of the way the platform works and so on. So I just can't see any way that tabletop gaming doesn't bifurcate at that point.
Well, also because there's a big audience, like me included, and I know a lot of other people. They're not interested in one D&D. They want to stick with the 2014 D&D. That's hence I came up with the term O5R, like
yeah.
So
good term, by the way.
Yeah,
I like it.
So
one of the things I think you are going to see though, kind of stemming from what they were commenting about with Magic, it's that they have a large portion of their player base that is something of a hybrid that will. With Magic, they'll play the paper game in person with friends. They'll go to the stores. They'll play the Magic Arena. I think that's what they want to look for with D&D. I think they kind of lean that same sort of thinking into how to handle this, which benefits them now that they have the D&D Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing: in order to avoid another Pathfinder fork where they lose a ton of business, there's also the rumor that they're going to either neuter or drastically change the open game license to prevent people from doing what the Pathfinder guys did. And there's actually a lot of concern about that.
I think they did say they wanted to evolve it.
Yeah.
But the question is, can they retroactively like change or remove the OGL from like the older editions, or would this just be the OGL for 1D&D? Like I said, a lot of people aren't even interested in 1D&D, so I think the Pathfinder fork is basically just going to be 2014 5e, and third-party people just continuing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do too.
Probably. I think it'll be kind of like Wizards will become the Epic Game Store, and everyone else will be Steam.
Yeah.
Think about it in those kind of terms.
Yeah,
basically
that's what we're going to end up with.
I think as well that also it depends on how well the Dungeons and Dragons movie does. Because if that does well, they're going to focus more and more about making it that it's the IP that they make movies from. I don't think that movie's going to do too well, though.
Well, they've already pushed it back to March, so.
And I think they're also looking to sell the studio already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it'll do okay, but not brilliant. So,
yeah.
I mean
I'll watch that was also because it was because the previous president had that in mind to do that. Then he died.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what is it? They said they wanted it to be a lifestyle brand. I remember that hearing about that. I forget from
Yeah,
who.
there's a lot of talk about that, and it kind of is now. So
Yeah, Gen X Geek has a good point here. It says, yeah, ultimate problem is with WOTC is Hasbro is a publicly traded company, and they have to make profit every year for their shareholders by law, and if they don't, the board of directors could be ousted.
The funny thing
Just
is,
out
I
of
don't think
curiosity.
it... Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the funny thing is, I don't think it's like pure D&D that is the lifestyle brand. I think it's mostly stuff like Critical Role that's like the lifestyle brand. Like those
Yeah.
Critical Role players, they're not that interested in like all the like the older like settings and stuff like that. No, none of them are interested in Greyhawk or in Eberron or whatever. They just care about Critical Role and that like little niche of D&D, and you know, that's what the lifestyle is. So
Yeah, I think of it in a way kind of like Second Life. Like, ostensibly there's a game there with Second Life, albeit a very loosely defined one. But really what it turned into is people hanging out in their own niches and chatting and doing weird stuff. And I think Wizards is going to expect the quote-unquote lifestyle brand of D&D to be that. Through digital platforms and other channels, they're going to create these spaces for people to just have social groups and encounters related to D&D, but maybe they're not even playing the game.
Well, the problem that comes up with that is that this is, they call it the Matt Mercer effect. People have the expectation from Critical Role of how the game is going to be, and then if they're signing up, it's not that. So they can't monetize those people because what the game actually is versus what Critical Role is are different enough. You're not going to get Critical Role if you play normal D&D.
No. So that thing came out about there being a Dungeon Master crisis, basically, relating to 5th edition. Do you think that's part of it? That there is too much pressure and expectation on Dungeon Masters to be, that level of polished performance and so on?
I think it's multifaceted.
Yes.
We're skipping way too fast. We're gonna get to this stuff. Let's take it like a little bit at a time.
Sorry, I don't know what the plan is. I'm just
okay. No.
just riffing.
I have no idea what the plan is either, so I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine.
There's a lot of stuff we really want to get into.
There's a whole bunch. I mean, it's like literally, pretty much, this is the We Tear WOTC Up episode, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't even know what to call this episode because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff with WOTC right now that.
This week in WOTC.
This week in WOTC, yeah.
But especially
kill the WOTC. Kill the WOTC.
Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Glory of the Giants. If it's going to be a continuation of Against the Giants or some kind of a reworking of it or something else. The Fandelver campaign, some of us are speculating that is going to be when they actually release the D&D 1 setup. Because
that would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, because Fandelver was what they started 5th edition with, so.
Yeah.
And to the credit of it, from everything I've heard, people absolutely love the Fandelver adventure that was there.
Fandelver's great.
It could be
old school.
So them doing a campaign on it makes perfect sense from the 500-foot overview.
Yeah. And then, of course, in fall of next year, the Book of Many Things. Nobody's going to buy that by comparison to the big enchilada on the board, which is Planescape. Everybody is going to want to know what the hell they're going to do with this and how they're going to
fuck it up. You know they're going to fuck it up.
Oh, we know they are.
It's also current Wizards of the Coast, so the Book of Many Things is just going to be like 40 pages with like 5 new like magical items or something.
Oh, I'm sure. It'll be something stupid like that.
So the Book of
It'll be the Book of Many Pronouns.
Yeah. Pronouns. Book of Many Genders.
Book that came out a few months ago that was like a compilation of all the races or whatever.
Tasha's
Monsters in the Multiverse.
Yeah, I bet
Monsters in the Multiverse.
I bet it's just going to be a compilation of everything.
Yeah, I noticed they're not calling it the girdle of femininity and masculinity anymore. Are they? They're just what are they calling it these days?
I don't know.
A girdle of change or something?
Self ID.
Yeah. From what I heard, Monsters of the Multiverse was basically just like old content, but like kind of like recycled, but like rewritten to be more woke. Like
basically the belt of toxic masculinity. It's a cursed artifact.
Just out of curiosity, I decided to look it up, and I don't think the girdle of masculinity, femininity even exists anymore. If it does, it's not official for sure.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
I don't think
I'm
it's
not
been in there
surprised.
since 2nd edition, actually.
No, it's been in there. It's been in there for. It was in there as far as 3.0, 3.5, as far as I remember.
I
don't know.
Potion of androgyny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does this taste like soy to anybody else?
Don't forget, Baldur's Gate 2, one of the evil male wizards ended up getting turned into a woman as for punishment. Nowadays, that would be a reward.
Okay, so Girdle hasn't existed since 3rd edition? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, El. Yeah, because I vaguely remember it being in 3rd edition still, but...
Oh no, they can't handle any actual brutality. That's why death saves are a thing. Original, 2nd edition, when I started, it's like, if you died, you were fucking dead unless someone could resurrect you, which they probably couldn't until, 7th or 6th circle?
Yeah.
WPN store, you get your WPL status heated. I like the way that flows. By the way, I just threw a link to Dying Breed tabletop, so we'll see if he picks up, because he was like, "Oh no, I wouldn't be good for your show." Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, this one, 20%
You have me
of the
on.
user base is monetized because the DM buys the book and then invites their friend. That's like, Monopoly being mad that everyone who's playing their game with a family isn't giving them the same amount for the full Monopoly game.
Are you kidding? They put out so many editions of that game that everyone has one. I'm pretty sure I have a Lord of the Rings Monopoly around here somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe if the player's guide
like,
was actually a guide for players, then they could sell 6 times as many.
Well, like Greg said, it's going to be all digital, and it's going to be like, buy this subclass for 99 cents, and it's just going to be very focused on the players rather than the DM. So,
what I'm guessing,
or alternatively, we will just do what people do with NFTs.
Block them?
Window Shift S. Drag your cursor, copy that bitch, paste. Boom. I've just stolen your class.
Hell, I wish you could get up out here, because I bet you would. You'd probably have an earful. But yeah,
look at what I'm kind of guessing they're going to wind up doing is they're going to try to put out. We're going to kind of go back to sort of that 2nd or 3rd edition where we get a lot of smaller releases, but more hyper focused on player facing options. So more subclasses, more racial choices, more equipment, even like, here's going to be a collection of. I mean, the playtest is using the basic and expert, so you can see a collection of expert subclasses or some stuff, some feats for them. I think that's going to be the kind of the way they'll go about trying to monetize it. And then of course you can go digitally and buy the 1 or 2 little pieces you want to buy for 99 cents or $2.99 a piece.
They're going to have spell packs.
D&D Beyond. That is exactly how they do D&D Beyond right now. If before it was acquired by Wizards of the Coast, let's say a brand new book came out with new races and some new magic and stuff. If I wanted to have that book available for me to use for a game and the DM didn't own it, let's say I wanted to play a Tortle and they're not in the base game, I had to go buy the Tortle race for 99 cents or $1.99 or whatever like that from D&D Beyond in order for it to be included in my stuff. And I suspect that is going to continue because D&D liked that and they saw it. And as the article here says, is they believe that the game is heavily under monetized. So
yeah, that's a vague but threatening statement.
Yeah, it is. Not only that, but the CEO Chris Cox by himself, just come on, that guy had to be bullied to hell and back growing up. So he's probably looking to take it out on all of us. But since the brand is really under monetized and D&D has never been more popular, really great fans and engagement. It's do you though?
I don't know. I still think the heyday for D&D was like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. I think second edition is kind of when it peaked.
Now, you say peak. Is that based in terms of sales? Because the pandemic was the absolute peak.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, just peaked in terms of when it actually started to get popular and all that sort of stuff. Although I guess once again it probably got more popular in fifth edition because of Critical Role.
No.
More
When you
people
blow
bought-
up, you blow up when you have a satanic panic, which is what happened in the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the 80s is when it first took off, so that's always going to have a big cultural impression. But more people bought first edition AD&D than bought second edition AD&D.
actually, that's funny that you would say that, Shanatsky. If I were one of the tinfoil hat people out there, I would speculate that perhaps WOTC is manufacturing a second sort of satanic panic in order to drive sales currently.
But if that was the case, then them bending over backwards to appease the new satanic panic is just kind of not doing the trick. It's encouraging people to not play their version.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't bought anything since Tasha. Well, I haven't even bought Tasha. So whatever came before Tasha, I haven't bought anything since. Because that's when I first started noticing, like, the wokeness creep in. And I was like, yeah, no.
What I do kind of foresee in the future too is if they don't acquire Hero Forge outright, they will probably go ahead and start up some kind of a miniatures service where you can create and design your own miniature digitally, and then opt for a service where you can have it 3D printed for your own table.
So like Hero Forge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that if they don't go ahead and just outright acquire Hero Forge, they will probably create some kind of a service like that.
Yeah.
What's Hero Forge exactly? Are they like they do?
So
Hero Forge.
Sorry, I was going to say it's an online storefront with a built-in sort of app where you can create miniatures in 3D and pose them and so on, and then you can pay to have them printed. It's hellishly expensive for what you get, but you do get the customizability, and you can download the file to print it yourself if you have a 3D printer.
They make $3 million a year.
Yeah. I've actually my first experience with Hero Forge is a 5th edition game I was in, the first one I was in. The GM bought miniatures for all of us based on our characters as a Christmas presents, right? And they knew that I was the miniature painter in the group. So I literally got them before everybody else and got to paint all of them for them.
No.
So when they opened them up on Christmas, it's like, yeah, they had fully painted, 3D miniatures.
Now
I actually
they're-
like Hero Forge because it's just fun to make your characters, but yeah.
It is. It's limited, but it's still fun.
Now they're full color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just as a test, I went ahead and bought some of their full colored ones, and they're really nice to the point where I'm kind of like, this could possibly impact me as a painter, because it's like,
They're $50 though.
yeah.
I
But
had I was in a 5th edition game, and one of the players showed up with a Hero Forge mini that unfortunately broke.
yeah, they do break. Yeah, that's what I was going to get around to. $50 for a miniature painted is kind of about standard, really. If you want a good job done on it. I mean, obviously, I would accept a commission for less, but for a really good, solid miniature painting job with shadows and highlights and depth and basing and everything else, is like, yeah, it'd be about $50. So it's not that big of a difference. But yeah, they're made out of a real thin resin, so it's like, yeah, if they drop, they break. If you have a hardwood floor or hard floor.
Yeah. If you are getting them, it is worth paying for the higher quality resin. So.
I'm surprised they wouldn't try monetizing, like, they'd have a pool of artists and you could actually have commissions done of your characters, because I see that done a shit ton online with people. Like, DeviantArt is full of tons of businesses of people doing just that. Draw My LC doing X, Y, and Z. And they spend some people spend a shit ton of money on those too.
Gen X, I agree with this statement that WOTC feels so sterile and lifeless without a feel of its own. And I've said that ever since Hasbro took over, because since 3.0 to the current edition, everything has felt very corporate. The artwork feels like it was chosen by committee. It has lost a lot of the warmth and the charm that it had from previous editions. I mean, even second edition, which was more corporatized than first edition, still felt a little bit kind of like closer to home. And maybe it was because, the illustrators and stuff, but yeah.
It's the irony of the diversity push, isn't it? Because every game has to have everything in it.
Yeah.
And because you can't have any of the different worlds have their own limitations or cultures, because that's going to be bad for somebody, they always end up being the same. So you're aiming for diversity, but what you end up with is a homogenous grey mush.
Exactly.
That's the truly evil nature of these kinds of people, because they talk about wanting differences, but it's completely and utterly superficial. Any internal differences must be destroyed and wiped out, because everything is about power structures and oppression. There's no ability, either you're a victim or an oppressor.
Yeah, it's ultimately from a place of what I would say is a sort of an overwhelming compassion, wanting to cater and help people out. But the problem is you can go too far with that, and if you dare go against it, then you're being uncaring. You're being an asshole.
Yeah.
It's
great. It's great in the real world, right? We want tolerance and acceptance and everybody to get on and everyone to have an equal chance in the world, right?
I don't.
But
but
in fantasy worlds,
in a fantasy setting,
you want conflict. You want different cultures. You want to travel in your mind to somewhere different, do something different.
That's the reason why the first couple of seasons of The Next Generation were about to destroy the entire franchise and almost got it canceled, because Gene Roddenberry was a diehard communist, and he didn't want there to be any conflict. He wanted it to be like a communist utopia.
Yeah.
And so the show tanked in the ratings, and then they pulled back, and the showrunners wait a minute, we got to do something fast. So they introduced the Borg, and it actual conflict, villains and action, it saved the whole thing. That's what Wizards of the Coast needs to do.
Well, another problem with Wizards...
It's like with the Wednesday show on Netflix, how people were upset that they made a black girl the antagonist for the show.
Oh God.
She wasn't even she was a bully for 3 episodes, and then she becomes a friend. I watched the whole show. It's not like she was some horrible fucking bully. She was just kind of the mean girl for 3 episodes, and then they become friends. So
but she's black, but she's oppressing someone, and we can't have that, because black people are always victims.
Yeah, black people never oppress anybody.
But another problem that Wizards of the Coast has, they never really focused on one setting. They started off with the Forgotten Realms. They did a little bit of the Sword Coast. They did the Chult Adventure, and that was it. It's literally forgotten, because they haven't done anything else with that setting since. They just give you pieces of other setting, here's Ghost of Saltmarsh versus Eberron. Meanwhile, they haven't done anything else Eberron really.
Yeah.
Here is a knockoff version of Planescape, with the Radiant Citadel. So at least with second edition and third edition, you got whole setting books. They actually focused on the different settings, and they made them very rich. You had the Drizzt novels, you had all the video games surrounding it. And 5e kind of likes that.
Yeah, the third edition Forgotten Realms hardback source book, that was really good.
It was.
They had
some of the other thing too is we were mentioning Critical Role earlier, and the fact that is a huge influence on people who are just getting into the game, because they do see Critical Role, they actually sit down and watch it and are entertained by it. God knows why.
The thing about Critical Role with me too, I knew the majority of those people before they started it, because a lot of them were voice actors and things like anime, and I was went to anime cons a lot. I met Tellis and Jeffy several times when he was just an ADR director.
Hey, Dying Breed.
and even Mercer would have like his things at Anime Expo where they'd have like some kind of like little improv show. This was all before Critical Role, of course, but I can confirm he's a legitimate D&D nerd because he was already into and talking about that stuff like to my face.
Well, it's like I've actually sat down and tried to watch Critical Role, and it's just I can't do it. It's just not very exciting, and it's not just because I don't like Matt Mercer or I don't like voice actors or whatever. I think it's all fake or whatever. It's like I do think to some degree it is scripted because it is a show. Yeah. But honestly, it's anybody who is having like a live action game on YouTube, it's just not very interesting to me because it's kind of like. As background noise, it might be fun, but I was getting to that, Graham. Just a minute.
I think it's basically a reality TV show. They have a designated place where things are going to go, and it kind of goes there, and that's one way you can do D&D. It's perfectly fine. The problem is that's not the only way to do D&D, and that's the thing people fail to understand is that different DMs play the games different ways. Some are relevant, some are sandbox.
Which is why the only actual play D&D game that I do watch, and not just because he's my friend, but also because it's a very entertaining, is Grimm's Tabletopless. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, okay, I'm a single dude, seeing naked chicks on a D&D stream. It's like, okay, that's a huge draw for me. I'm not gonna lie, but it's actually genuinely funny, and it is genuinely entertaining. So, I can kind of put it on and watch, and then put it in the background or whatever, and still enjoy it. I haven't been able to find myself doing that with Critical Role, and I guess maybe it's just because of the GM's delivery or whatever. Like, you walk into a tavern, the smoky atmosphere, the wooden boards creak under your feet. The thick-set barman behind the bar is mopping out a glass and looks at you and, "You want a drink?" I'm sorry, I just, sorry, Matt, you just, not my style.
I think Harmon Quest is vastly superior.
They would be called is what I would call the theater majors. The people who are in theaters that got in the tabletop role-playing games and make things very overly dramatic. Then there's the munchkins, which are the people that just want to kill things and get treasure.
Yeah, like Harmon Quest.
Badass.
I feel like Harmon Quest is much closer to the way most people actually play the game.
Probably so. And hey, Latino Slants, good to see you. And hey, Just, what's going on? Crimson keeps the Kleenex and lotion companies in business thanks to T-shirt. Yes, they do.
But when it comes to the gaming, we do try to keep it authentic and not overproduced. We do a little bit of scripting because we've got limited amounts of time. But I want people, besides the porn, to see a more genuine gaming experience. The weird tangents that we go off on, and the stupid puns and jokes, and the things that make sitting around a table with your friends fun. So that's what part of what I aim for in that.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what makes it fun. Is it feels like a more genuine experience because I can kind of sympathize or empathize more with with the gamers at Grimm's table.
Well,
it's just
which is weird because it's such a weird circumstance in every other aspect.
Well, what you want to literally, if you're doing right, you kind of lose yourself into the role. I mean, you still, know you're there, but like you can actually start to see and imagine things. Like your imagination is actually going full. So it's very like when you were a kid on the playground, which is what I like about tabletop role-playing games. That's the closest you can get back to that particular area that we've kind of lost because being an adult.
And there's the link if anybody wants to check out the actual thing. The live plays are on Wednesdays, either on ePlay or on MiniVids. And definitely give them a follow on Twitter. They're a lot of fun. The girls are very pretty and funny and entertaining, And I have to admit, the more I interacted with them, either in the audience or out on Twitter and stuff like that, the more I started feeling less like they were something to
They've been very supportive this past year when I've been very unwell. So they're good people just in general, really.
Yeah,
I
they
have,
are.
Oh yeah. That's. You're looking at your site. Yeah. This reminds me. Yeah, there are also girls who are freaks into the tabletop scene, and I've known enough horror stories of guys who are like girls will get infatuated with them or their characters, and they wanted nothing to do.
Hey,
with
Zax.
I used to do vampire LARP. Enough said.
Yeah. 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 The problem were never like the rules were never the problem. It was always the people.
Well, that's what I've always said. That's what I've always said about 5e. Anytime people mention, how bad 5e is on Twitter, I'm like, the rule set's not the problem. It is the culture that surrounds it right now.
Yeah. And you have a problem player. So I was going to say quickly. So you have a problem player at your table. In the old days, you just tell them to fuck off, right? And you carry on playing. These days, they're everybody's problem.
Yeah. These days, you will go on Twitter and cancel you. So yeah.
Yeah. Or after they just suddenly cut you off, then they'll start like saying you did a bunch of shit you didn't do online, and there's like, and they're not using your name, so you don't want to fucking respond, but you fucking want to beat the shit out of them after. Because it's just...
I didn't like the way they treated me in the game. #me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll never forget the day that girl posted up in Twitter about how she felt shamed because the DM wouldn't let her play her Vistani character because
Well, he let her play her. He just wouldn't let her go into this specific village that was like wary of Vistani because she called him out for like racism.
Yeah, she tried to get him canceled for that, and I'm just like, you're ridiculous.
It's really important to know the levels with everyone in the group and everyone actually talk openly about that, because if people don't talk up, there's no way in hell I can know what you are and aren't comfortable with.
True.
And vice versa.
But talk about it.
Some people get really demented with something. I've seen listings for games where the DM listed that he was going to post photos from actual crime scenes in the investigation game he was doing. It's like, there are certain games, know what you're getting into, because if you go into something that's listed as extreme and then you have a problem, in that case, you're the asshole.
Okay, but see, this is the thing, all right, and this kind of goes into what Grim was alluding to earlier, which is something I wanted to get into. Okay, you have GMs who are creative individuals and they want to do different things. They want to bring a different kind of shock value to their game, or they want to just have a different experience with their players. So maybe they do something crazy like, post up a photo of, an actual corpse or something, and everybody freaks out and tries to get them canceled. It makes the news, and a whole bunch of new rules start getting posted up online. Okay, now if you're going to do stuff like this, you need to have warnings, and it makes all the other GMs look bad, and it creates another atmosphere of, the DMing now has another level of shit they have to deal with, so that makes being a DM have even more pressure than it did before.
Yeah.
Which is why apparently there is a lack of DMs, ongoing right now. Because nobody wants to run this shit knowing that they could get canceled or, otherwise shit on by these social harpies.
Well, that's why I'm against like X cards and safety tools. Like DMing is already hard enough. Like I don't want to give like random players the power to just slap down a card and completely interrupt my game because they are upset that they're fighting a giant spider or something. Like fuck that.
I mean, ultimately, it is because something like the Critical Role is such a is so out there, so prolific. It's that plus with the way people treat it. Like I saw an article this week about someone about using D&D for therapy.
No.
For mental therapy when it's a game about fighting goblins and monsters. But my point was there's certain expectations that people are getting put onto the game with how one should be a dungeon master, how to run the game. So it with the bar being raised with every time that this stuff is uttered, it's becoming more difficult and more intimidating for new players to come in, when this should ultimately be a game that like a 10-year-old can run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it used to be much more, here's a set of basic rules, improvise the rest, here's some suggestions. It's not like that now. It's very... is it prescriptive, or is it the other way round? Yeah, it's all very set, and everyone has similar expectations. And anytime you say no, you're running the risk of someone having a big blow up in your face.
Oh,
Yes, Kit. Yeah, I covered that. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what is the Kevin Rolfe affair? Because I don't know about this.
So Kevin Rolfe often volunteered at conventions to run games, and he always ran games that were sort of weird mixes of genres and perhaps not using the system that you would typically expect to go with that. At UK Games Expo, he was running a game which was basically the In-Betweeners, which I don't know how to explain to you if you're not from Britain.
I know the In-Betweeners.
Yeah, a comedy show about teenagers getting up to horrible teenager stuff. So it was kind of like a mix between that and the Hostel films, torture porn films.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but using things from the Flood as the rule set, right? So he set out to run this game. He said it was a mature game, that there would be weird stuff going on, what system it would be using. But the people that turned up to play at least one of the sessions just don't seem to have understood what they were getting into in any way, shape, or form. And they sat down and they played the game, and they were expecting it to be vanilla, things from the Flood, Tales from the Loop, kids on bikes, adventure stuff, clearly not having read the sign-up sheet properly. And of course it wasn't. They didn't really raise any issues while they were playing, and in one of the scenes they had been drunk, they had been drugged. This was as part of the hunt humans for sport sort of aspect of the game. And then they woke up in the back of a truck, covered in shit because the drugs had fucked with them. I think he described them as having sore assholes, and they took it upon themselves to decide that meant their characters had been raped. Right? That's not what he meant. It's you would have to make a certain amount of leap to come to that conclusion. And then they finished the session, talked a little bit about it afterwards with him, didn't really raise any issues in any particularly strident way, and then went and complained to the convention staff, who then banned him from that and all subsequent conventions. And I think as a result of that, he's been banned from most UK conventions. And it's all over a misunderstanding and a leap of logic. It was stupid. And as a games master, as a retailer looking at that at conventions, I'm like, do I want to risk going to one of these cons? Do I want to risk running games and getting into a misunderstanding, even when you clearly label your game as adult and you put in the reference points like the In-Betweeners and like Hostel and so on? And people still turn up to your table and pitch a fit when you deliver what you promised. What are you supposed to do?
Now, kids, this game is going to involve lots of scat and gore, and will probably involve the sodomizing a corpse. If you're not into that, please don't play. And then you'd actually do that in a game. And
why was there sodomizing a corpse in this game?
That would be my first question.
If you put up a sign-up sheet for, investigating the Spider Temple of the Spider People, right, and someone slaps down the X card and says, "I'm an arachnophobe," it's like, you are the problem. Fuck off.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, anybody out there who is either looking forward to getting Whitechester, please know that there is at least one scenario that will involve large heaps of shit, and I happen to know because I wrote it.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Who is surprised by this? I'm surprised there isn't like a piss zombie somewhere.
Well, I thought about it. I just couldn't figure out where I would put it in. I mean, it's like if Grimm had given me a Fuller's shop or something to work with, yes,
there is a Fuller's mill. So
there is a full. Oh, so is it full of piss?
Well, it was originally.
T-shirt Ed, are you the wizard?
Yes.
If you want to add a pee zombie, just so they used to evaporate piss to get the ammonia and so on out of it. So just have a zombie covered in slippery,
ammonia,
yellowish, foul-smelling goo, and give it the troglodyte stench. There you go.
Golden pissy trees as far as the eye can see.
I can pee.
Yeah. Well,
we so gay.
Well, just real briefly, I wanted to
today's
throw in...
RPG session, the DM's barely disguised fetish.
Yeah.
No.
Greg, what are you trying to say?
Oh no, well, we talked a lot about the players and what a problem they were, but T-shirt's original point was, the rules are fine. Well, probably Victor can agree with me on this. There does get a point with 5th edition where you just, as a DM, get a little bit tired of there not being like much of a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I know there's the 05R, like you can go back to the original vanilla rules, but truthfully, there's ways around it. As a clever DM, you can make ways to present a challenge or really harm or like put your players in danger, but it's a hell of a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that the culture also, what's the word? It reflects on the rules. Like eventually, so you've got 2014 5e was still fairly old school. Like if you use like the core books, it's you can still present a bit of a challenge. But then once you start adding the later books, and a lot of players expect you these days, they actually get mad at you if you don't let them use anything they want. That's when a lot of issues come in, because you've just got ridiculous subclasses written by some sparkle troll, and so the culture informs the rules is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, when I say that the rules are fine, I mean, like, obviously, I would expect every GM to have his own, modified set of rules to some degree, because, I mean, I do forget that, the kiddies these days do play 5e vanilla, as in no deviation from their rules, for some reason, and I don't know why. RPG Pundit doesn't understand why, because when he helped design it, he fully intended for people to, modify it, squish it up, and change it, and do everything like that. In other words, all the shit that people are doing with the OSR, like David Guile, who is one of our other panelists today.
Dungeons and Delvers.
Yes. Hi, David.
Hi, am I robot voicing?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yay.
You're awful good.
That's a name that a friend actually came up with when he wanted to do this stuff together. He was like, let's call ourselves Awful Good Games. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. So, I don't know why he thought of it, but...
But yeah, it's like, these players have so many expectations of the GM. I mean, the GM has to be a therapist. He has to be a storyteller. He also has to be a facilitator. And he has to make the game safe. And additionally, the other thing that most people don't talk about is the GM also incurs almost all of the costs of the game. For example, every 5th edition game I've ever played, I originally bought all the books. But as I started showing up to 5th edition games, I was like, I don't need any of this shit. I've got D&D Beyond. The GM is using D&D Beyond. I never have to go to a book. All I got to do is just get up on D&D Beyond, and all my shit is right there. So the poor GM, on the other hand, is the one who's having to spend money on modules, on miniatures, on maps, on Dungeonscape sound settings, and all this other bullshit to make his game awesome. And it's just kind of like, you poor man. And
does D&D Beyond, is that like a monthly thing, or do you just buy something and you have it digitally? And then they can revoke it later if they want?
Yeah, effectively. It's not it's not necessarily subscription based. You can get into it for free, but beyond the core books, you have to pay to have those books added to your account. So, like, let's say if you wanted to run Ravenloft, you would have to actually purchase the Ravenloft book through D&D Beyond in order for them to add it onto all your digital stuff that you could use on your player character sheet or as a GM or as player handouts and all that sort of stuff.
And the
if you
PDFs
buy
are overpriced.
Well, if you buy the book, is there any kind of discount for buying it on Beyond, or are you just buying the book twice?
No, because at the time that book was sold, WOTC did not.
Okay.
They did not have D&D Beyond acquired. These days, I don't know. It's possible that no.
I wouldn't imagine they'd change it now if they didn't have to before.
Wow, that's shitty because it's like now they actually own the company, so they should offer you some kind of a free discount on that. Like, okay, hey, you got the book here, now you have it digitally too.
One thing that always annoyed me is that stuff was often cheaper on D&D Beyond than it was on Roll20 or something, even though it was like the same book.
Yeah, and it's still overpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like drive-through RPG myself because there's tons of like homebrew stuff people put up there. You can find the older books and buy them for a lot of systems still. Like you can buy all the old White Wolf stuff because I freaking hate V5.
Yeah, WotC already does it with Magic the Gathering. No digital stuff for Arena when you buy physical cards. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Double dip.
Double dip. Yep. And yes, part of the problem is also that if there are revisions made to the rules, such as let's say that you bought the original Mordenkainen's book, or no, was it Volo's Guide? You bought the original Volo's Guide with all the monster as PCs, which it had the original stats for the orcs and the kobolds having negative stats. Well, since WotC made their rulings changes on all those creatures and stuff got their stats changed and stuff. So now it's built in automatically. So if I pick an orc out of to roll up in D&D Beyond, it's already got no minuses and stuff like that. It's already updated, and I had no choice in the matter. I have no agency in the matter. Versus, I still own the original book, which has the negatives, and I'm keeping it.
I've half a mind to go back through 5e and restore all the old negative stat modifiers to all the races and call it biological essentialism or something. Just
totally.
tweak people's nipples,
Oh, that would do it. L, I honestly don't know. You'd have to ask Ironcaster. He keeps up with the Magic the Gathering stuff. I don't mess with Magic the Gathering. I got out of it way back in Homelands, and I have never looked back, to be quite honest. And I've never been happier.
The race thing with
I haven't touched it in years, so I gotta look that up.
It just pisses me off because it's literally going, the actual races, like, yeah, there's going to be a difference biologically between an orc and a human. Duh. But Wizards of the Coast is going, no, there shouldn't be any difference at all. And just like, my head wants to explode when I
because it's somehow racist.
It's like
somehow
biological races. This isn't like differences within the human race, as it were.
Well, but you got to remember,
different
racism
stat blocks for men and women. I could somewhat understand them having that argument.
Racism is just whatever they don't like.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
but some guy in 1920 said that black people were like, whatever, and now, somehow we're punished for that. So now we can't have nice things because, Lovecraft said something mean in 1910.
Well, it's almost the same kind of mindset as reparations.
Yeah. What is Lovecraft?
I'm not getting into that, but
well, I mean, that's just the argument. The argument is like we can't have describing orcs as being stronger but stupider, and also they're savage. Like, well, that's how they used to talk about black people, so that's bad. It's like, yeah, they used to talk about black people like that in 1820. What does that have to do with me? I don't think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're green
No
people.
one actually does.
Yeah.
Well, okay, no. These people, they look at that and they go, ah, yes, this orc that lives in a cave and wears bone armor and rampages villages for weapons. Black person, clearly.
Speaking of that, I'm going to show you guys my favorite solution to that particular problem. Just give me a couple minutes there. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right.
So, someone was asking about the cost of packs in Arena, and it looks like you can buy about 1,000 gems for $10, but then you can get like 6 packs for 1,200 gems. So it's always that it's that current trend of you can't fully buy for the cost of like the simple cheap buy-in. So they always like give you just a little bit short, or if you spend a little bit more, you can get this better one. It's silly. It's the freemium model of just you cough up a little bit more money.
Like a gotcha game.
For like I think 600 gems. So for about $6, you can buy 3 packs that have like 5 cards each. So you're basically getting about. I mean, with the current price of packs, it's a little more cost. It's actually cheaper to go and buy physical packs.
So this might be kind of familiar to some folks, but this is actually my favorite. This is my favorite way to deal with the whole orcs as people problem. As you can see here, orcs are classified as demons.
Yeah.
And they speak Infernal sometimes. And as it says right here. Yeah. Orcs are demonic entities native to the regions of the underworld controlled by Orcus, a demon lord with dominion over the dead. Orcs exist solely to slaughter mortal creatures in Orcus's name, though they have been known to take captives in order for grisly sacrifices in the new moons.
That sounds like Mexicans to me.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I tried to go away from black people, and I'm just insulting Mexicans now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. If Orcus makes all these minions go and start selling oranges on the freeway, then I'll get upset.
Sure.
Well, to be fair, there's no weakness where if you dry their backs, so I didn't go full on that.
Yeah, hang on. We got something for that.
Oh, I'm in pain.
You do realize, I think we said last time, you do realize they made the Submariner a wetback, literally.
Yes, they did.
That's where I got it from.
You said it, not me. I'm too white to say that.
I think my aunt says that technically I have enough of some Indian tribe I could get an Indian card.
You gotta be. You gotta be able to.
You
gotta be on the rolls.
Just make sure your mother wasn't Little Feather.
Ironcaster's on the rolls. He's official.
She said her grandmother was on the rolls, but I had to
I've got my race card and everything.
Process I had to go through.
Yes. As you can see, he's like, yes, please don't break the window. The AC is off. He needs water, and it's taking forever to fucking die already. There we go. Thank you very much.
Good thing he can't read.
Yes.
Between Namor and Wakanda, it's my favorite Waste Kids You Know sketch. Come on, man. Race war. Woo!
Well, I still think it's funny that the Atlanteans, had to swim a river to get into the country illegally.
That's Atlantean X.
Yeah, Atlantean X. I don't know.
Atlantics.
Yeah, Atlantics.
And Brian James, that is actually not my take on orcs. You can credit this guy here, Mr. David Guile, who created those. This is in his game, Dungeons and Delvers, which, yes, I will always promote that game because I like it.
It's close to Tolkien's one of Tolkien's takes on orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing was they were elves that fell to darkness. Basically, that was the whole idea with the orcs.
Well, there's a bunch of different versions Tolkien never quite decided what orcs were exactly, but
Which
one
fits the
take
mythology, because it's like a thousands of years old mythology. Nobody's gonna know except maybe some elves.
Yeah, the mystery kind of, I think it makes it better. No one's really certain.
Well, sure. Well, I mean, not to be cynical or anything, it is an awesome take on works, but like, if David does that for his works, I do something similar for my works and Irie's. But look at our audiences. We can basically do that whatever the hell we want with our works, and we're not going to get canceled because our audience knows what's going on. Like, we don't have stupid players and supporters, right? Like, maybe one or two,
will
but
find it.
Yeah, maybe one or two, but it's not. If Wizards of the Coast did that, they would still be in trouble because no matter what they do, somebody's going to take issue.
Well, and
I have a saying for this: stupidity finds a way.
Yeah.
Right. This is what I don't get about the way Wizards tackles this stuff. Right. No matter what they do, they get shit. So why not just do what you want?
Yeah.
Really.
I don't think they have the creativity or the passion to do. That's why they keep recycling things. They keep hollowing it out into skin suits and stuff. Here's your shitty Ravenloft. They don't. I don't think they can create anything innovative or interesting anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's also because
Graham. So Graham, I have your answer actually, because the ideologues that belong to those particular groups have infiltrated HR, and they decide to then hire people who ideologically follow what they believe in. And then over the course of 10 to 15 years, the companies become their ideology.
Okay,
yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
But even when they bend over backwards, right, the change from race to species, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think of all the options, it's probably one of the better ones that's available. But, that wasn't good enough. And they've just had to hire on a whole bunch of more sensitivity readers, right? But they already had sensitivity readers. And even though they had them checking stuff over, people still threw a fit. So, at what point, it's got to be diminishing returns, or like no return, really. Why waste all this money and time on people who will never be happy,
Graham,
no matter what you do?
Because the thing going into the toilet is not what matters. Getting the message out is what is. So right now, D&D is a platform for them to get that message out. And when it tanks and isn't useful to get their message out, they'll just move on to something else. See comics, see Doctor Who, see Star Trek, see all these things. These ideologues just take over, push everyone else out, and then they use it as a platform till it dies. Then they leave like locusts, move on to the next thing.
I've been dealing with it since the days of Atheism Plus. So, they've been through everything I love, one after another.
Yeah, Grim and I were canceled before cancel culture was actually a real thing,
I mean, I'm sure you deserve Rebecca Watson misconstrue you in an elevator as well?
Not quite.
What's that Asian girl who was in the video? I forgot the name already. The one that was like, finally, I got to see somebody that looked like me.
Yeah.
I remember her name, but I can't remember it right now.
Yeah, but I saw her like on her own live stream saying that like D&D is like colonialist and blah blah blah. So yeah, like the wolves are like they're already like through the door basically like
this guy.
Yeah.
This is Daniel Kwan. So as you guys may have you guys already know, and those of you in the audience already know, D&D has decided to change race to species officially. And this apparently did not sit well with Daniel Kwan, who live streamed about it. And actually his preferred term is ancestry, which is actually worse in my opinion, because it's like, that's like some old Southern racism right there. Your ancestors.
Shut up and marry your cousin. It keeps our bloodline pure.
We got to keep the ancestry. So anyway, we found out that Daniel Kwan, the main reason he was upset about the species change is because he wasn't consulted about it, aka he was not hired, he was not paid to do something about it. In other words, it wasn't his take, it was someone else's take. And they have problems They mention that they have problems with the current cultural consultants in Wizards of the Coast. They have no confidence in them. They have no faith in them, or they distrust them because they allowed the word species to get out when they should have used another term that's like ancestry. And the truth
They
of
got the
it,
job and you didn't.
exactly. That is exactly what it boils down to. The way his video ended made it seem very, very much like he would like to have known who got that job so that he could go after them.
But meanwhile, what didn't he write an Asian themed adventure for? Was it Candlekeep Mysteries or whatever? And it
Yeah,
was
he
just
wrote
some
Candlekeep.
yeah, it was like some generic like Jackie Chan horse shit that any of us could have written if we had like
Yes.
all it requires
Exactly.
is like growing up on kung fu movies. Like,
Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
like, so much for your sacred ancestral knowledge, motherfucker.
You know, it's funny because I came across those books. The Hong Kong action cinema, the role playing game.
Yeah.
Written by our wonderful friend Gareth Michael Skarka. Like look at Grim just try to contain his rage and bile.
Is Far West out yet?
No, it isn't.
I thought he'd re-promised that it would be out at the end of November, I think.
I'm glad I know next to nothing about this man. Every reaction I hear
He
about
used
him.
to be
I just like
okay.
He used to be okay.
I'd like
Then
to
we
hold up
found
both
out.
copies of Oriental Adventures, like crosses to a vampire to send him off.
So anyway, what I would like to do is parade that particular TTRPG out there and like make sure Daniel Kwan can see it. So maybe he'll go after Gareth Michael Skarka, and we can finally just watch them eat their own.
Let them fight.
Gareth's got enough problems being Gareth, I think.
Literally, the only reason they went after Oriental Adventures is because they wanted to promote their own book. Like, I argued with them on Twitter at the time, and it was like it quickly turned into like, yeah, we have our own book. You should buy that instead if you want like Asian stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I see.
Hey guys, could you get Matthew Dawkins to have Rudy enter the fray as well, so we just get rid of everyone we hate?
Yeah, Asians
Only if we also
represent
somehow
is
get-
his channel. Yeah.
Only if we could somehow get Anita Sarkeesian in on it.
You talk
find a
about
way.
cultural consultants.
Revengi.
I still love after they dissed Bayonetta for the first two games. Suddenly, Bayonetta is this queer icon they all loved all along, and how dare you make her heterosexual?
Yeah.
When she absolutely already had things for Luca in the first Bloody game, which they know if they actually played it.
All right,
That's
well,
the-
Falls out yet.
She had even said the character said in the game, so like she doesn't like raising kids, but she likes making them.
Yeah, very, very obvious, tongue-in-cheek metaphor.
Well, yeah, but headcanon is like, it trumps everything these days, so.
headcanon is everything. Yeah.
They accuse, speaking of that Wednesday show that was brought up earlier, they accused it of queer baiting because she doesn't like go into a relationship with her like perky blonde like werewolf like roommate. And it's like there's literally nothing in the show that like indicates that they would be interested in each other. It's like clear from the beginning that both of them like these boys that are at school, like all this stuff. But then they still got accused of queer baiting because some people wanted them to be lesbians.
I think that's a joke class that I would like to release, Calvinoni, just based on this. I'm going to call it the SJW Paladin, and its whole thing is going to be going out there and trying to fight for people who are oppressed because they must be protected. And it will be a case of even if they are not oppressed, the Paladin will tell them how they are actually oppressed and how they're actually being gaslighted.
You missed the
by
most
other
obvious
people.
name for it, the White Knight.
Yes, the White Knight, of course. Yes. But we're doing fine on our land. Our Lord is very generous. And no, you are all oppressed. The Lord is evil and must be destroyed. Look at you, how you toil. But he gives us a fair wage. He paid for my daughter to medicine when she got sick. No, he was just doing it for his own benefit because he knows that if the working class dies, he will have nobody to work the land. No.
Yeah.
At least he's not a vampire like that guy in the Kingdom Over
And
one.
his speech will be reading 65 chapters of feminist literature to convert people to his side. The problem is it takes you over 18 hours to do, and you can only do it once a day.
Calstaff says changing race to species isn't a problem, but keeping the term race isn't a problem either. I think your mindset behind that, Calstaff, is the same as most old school people. Mechanically, it probably makes sense. Race to species is fine if you're just thinking about how it impacts the game. It would be like changing the term dungeon master to referee, right? Because it used to be referee, and it makes sense for it to be referee because nowadays there's less dungeon crawling. There's a lot more that's part of the game, so referee will make sense. I think most people have issue with the intention behind the change. They weren't doing it to enhance the mechanical feel or the vibe of the game in any way to make it more sensible for players or DMs. They did it for some stupid reason. And that's why I think a lot of people are irritated.
Well, I can tell you why they're doing it, because to get people used to the idea of things being changed in the first place. You always start with something small. That's how you boil the frog. You don't throw the frog into the boiling water. You start to raise the temperature. So you change a bunch of innocuous things at the start, and then you start changing less major things. And then by the time you get to the end, you change everything around. And people go, what the hell happened?
Dwarf is next. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah,
real quick,
Dwarf is next.
On the topic of the Dungeon Master term, doesn't Wizards of the Coast legally own that?
Yeah.
So I don't see that going anywhere because they want to maintain that for intellectual property.
Yeah, you can't use it if you write for 5e. If you follow the OGL, you can't say Dungeon Master. You have to say Game Master or whatever.
Yeah. There's one thing that they're complaining about with the change to species that kind of makes sense to me when they're saying that it reinforces or encourages bioessentialism. The thing is, not in the rules, it's not. But it makes sense in the rules for there to be bioessentialism, right? A gnome is the size of a toddler. I'm no He-Man. I think I could beat up a few toddlers. Right? So they should probably be weaker, have less hit points, things like that, things that are impactful on the game. But they don't. And they're only changing the term. They're not changing the rules. So...
Yeah, you can literally be a 2-foot human now, so what's the point?
Yeah.
If you want to easily hide, if you want to move silently, have bonuses to stealing treasure or opening locks, finding hidden passages, there should be a trade-off for that in the gameplay mechanics, right?
You can play basically little pixie fairies in Tunnels and Trolls.
Yeah.
And that has huge impact on your stats.
You could
think
play
in Earthdawn as well. You
game.
could play Windlings, couldn't you? Little guys.
Yeah, the Tunnels and Trolls that I have, you could actually play anything as small as like little pixies all the way up to Balrogs. That'll really affect your game. But since it's all...
Sorry.
I was going to say, since it's all mostly solo game, it's really, you're just having fun with yourself, which is kind of funny. And this is something else I wanted to get into. And I don't mean to overstep you, Victor. I'll give you a shot. Something that is interesting that came back to me is apparently people who have been to like PAX and some of their more recent cons coming back, and they're saying that they are surprised that solo gaming, solo TTRPG, solo D&D, all this has come back, and it's people are wanting more and more of that, and they're not sure why. And I'm like, well, considering all the bullshit that DMs have to go through, and the fact that they can't get them, and the fact that you can finally live that whole I am the hero fantasy by playing by yourself. It's like, why not? I mean, I used to love solo games. I mean, I come from the fighting fantasy, choose your own adventure background. I think Grim does too. So.
Yeah.
From my video earlier today.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
Just watching that.
Yeah.
I need to watch that. What were you saying about that?
Oh, I wanted to say about the whole species thing. Like, we talked about this last time a little bit, I think. But my main problem with it, aside from the whole, like, the woke reasons for the change, it's like species just doesn't sound fantasy to me. It sounds too scientific. It sounds too sci-fi. A medieval adventurer is not going to mention the word species. They're going to say race or kin or folk or people or something like that. They're not going to say species. Like, an intelligence 19 wizard might, like, who's like some weird alchemist and, like, basically like a scientist. He might say species or genus or something, but like I said, it just doesn't feel fantasy to me. And
look at all the artwork for D&D, official D&D recently, right? None of it looks medieval.
Well, that's why it's all
folksy.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like-
it doesn't have a historical period. It's not Renaissance. It's not anything. It's weirdly pseudo modern. It's got
Yeah,
no
they all have side
character.
cuts, and they all look like cosplaying Seattleites, basically.
Yeah,
This is the problem also with just throwing things more and more modernity is that, like, where's the fantasy in fantasy now? It's like, how long till they add televisions in, and then they're just sitting around miserable at home because everything's safe, and then they're playing a tabletop fantasy game in the tabletop fantasy game.
Yeah,
to
next
get
thing
away
you know,
from the
somebody's
dreadful,
gonna
normal,
add like
everyday,
assault
mundane
rifles to
life.
5th edition.
yeah. I think the fantasy is that you're a slim, attractive bisexual who people want to fuck. I think that's the fantasy.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Vampire the Masquerade.
Ooh.
I don't
Saucy.
need to play D&D for that. That's just my real life.
I don't know.
I got some bad news for you.
Well,
you-
right. It's the OC, original character
skill.
virus that has spread from Tumblr to Twitter to art communities to D&D, right? And I think that's another aspect of why nobody wants to Dungeon Master, because everyone wants to play their special character.
Mm-hmm.
Then you show up
There's-
with like a human fighter, and no one knows what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot of there's a lot of that. I mean, it's like something that we were discussing, with another person the other day on Twitter is they said that with the current D&D pushes this whole notion that your character is a special hero and has a huge background already made up, where they're like gladiator champions and all this other bullshit, and they can do so many heroic things, and they have a difficult time dying and stuff like that. So when characters do actually die, it's devastating to the player. Versus old school D&D, where like you roll up your stats in order, and if you have a shitty character, he's gonna die pretty quick, but that's okay. You'll roll up another one because you're not that attached to it. And kind of where I'm going with that is, you guys remember the old Dark Dungeons Jack Chick tract thing? Where the one player at the game is like, her thief dies and she gets so upset about it she goes home and hangs herself.
Oh, yeah, the one they actually made a movie out of?
Yeah, the one that they actually put a movie out of. Yeah,
It's
Not Black
glorious.
Leaf.
Days ago.
not Blackleaf. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well-
I'm going to die.
I'm going to die. Yes, no, but it's funny because it's like, old D&D, it's like, yeah, nobody really got attached to their characters. I mean, not until like they were like sufficiently high level. I mean, you don't care if your first level fighter dies in the first encounter with a kobold or something. That's just bad luck. But yeah, by making the characters, by having the players invest so much of themselves into their characters at such an early stage, and have the lack of death and everything else, that when characters do actually die, it does create that Dark Dungeons effect that they were worried about back then. As now players are like, no, I can't handle it. My halfling fighter died, and he was only 3rd level. This is only the 6th game I've played. I can't handle it. I'm going to go home and complain about it on Twitter. You're a horrible GM, and I'm going to get you canceled. You're racist.
This is one of the reasons why actually I've gravitated lately towards the Alien RPG, because if you ever go against the Xenomorph, there's a 1 in 3 chance it's going to use an attack that can instantly kill you.
Yeah.
And surviving against those things is genuinely enthralling, because I know my character can die. Whereas this is the problem with 5th edition for me, is that with the death saves and everything else, it's that, I just, my person just quick heals me. I'm back up automatically after I got smacked the shit down. And then we repeat the process over and over again. So unless the entire group goes down, no one's going to die.
Well, there are optional rules for that like make it a lot more deadly. Where if you go down to 0, you have to like roll for like wounds. You can literally lose an arm or an eye, or like have like horrible wounds. But nobody ever uses those. So
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I also thought it was kind of funny. Is oh hey Snowdub, hang on guys, let me throw a shout out to Snowdub here.
Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Good to see you, man. So, yeah. So where was I on that? What was I saying?
Character death.
Character death.
It's too easy to not die. In
No. What I was gonna say is I got kind of into a miniature argument with Jason Vey from Castles and Crusades, and he's a great guy, by the way. We argue on Twitter a lot, but I do like his stuff. So I do support them, and but he was just irritated by the hit point thing came up. It's like, oh, hit points as a people have problems with hit points. How is it you get more of them and all this kind of stuff. And I was mentioning, I said, well, I've seen what some systems do, David, where you have basically like a stamina pool that has to be depleted before you actually start taking damage into that actually causes real wounds and stuff, right? Which kind of makes sense from an actual fighting perspective. Is like, yeah, when you're fresh in the match, it's very rare that the first punch that gets landed on you're going to go down. It does happen, but rarely. Generally, there's a bit of a fight between two opponents before one of them gets tired or gets sloppy, makes a mistake, and opens himself up, and then takes a hit that's bad enough to put him down. And that's true for medieval days as it is for today.
Isn't that just your standard death spiral, though?
Yes and no.
Depends on how you handle it.
I'll let David talk about it.
Well, okay. What do you mean by death spiral? Because I know White Wolf had a wound system where you got penalties, but you don't always have to do that. With with what I did, I don't have that. You don't start getting these increasing penalties.
Right. Yeah. The weaker you get, type of thing, until eventually you're no longer capable of defending yourself.
Yeah, basically, you get fucked up, and because you got fucked up, you're weaker next time going to combat, so you're more likely to get fucked up. Then you're, of course, going to get more fucked up, and then you're easier to get the next one, and then so on and so forth, till you're either dead or crippled.
That's why it's called a spiral.
Yep.
Well, the way I got it set up, it's not like a spiral. You got 2 point pools, and when one of them goes down, there's a vitality and a wound point pool. I just made that so that way you don't have to rely on healing magic so much, because your vitality points, they come back really quickly. Like when you're rested, you're out of combat for a while, and wound points come back more slowly. But it's more like in Halo, you have your life, you have like a shield bar, and that shield bar comes back after you don't get hit for a while. It's not that fast, but that's more what it's about. It's not like there's really no death spiral thing that goes on with the way I got it set up.
Okay.
So kind of like they did in the D20 Star Wars Saga Edition.
I don't remember how they did that. I used to have that book, and
you had vitality and you had hit points separate.
I can bring it up.
Yeah, but I'm curious how their recovery went.
I think it was similar, that you got your vitality back very quickly. But if you took a critical hit or all your vitality was drained, then it went on to hit points, and that was you getting genuinely fucked up.
Starfinder has like stamina and health, I think. And at first you start taking damage to your stamina, and then you take damage to your health. So something similar.
Does I'm loath to go to look at Paizo stuff, but does Starfinder have like a online SRD? Because I don't want to buy a book.
I think so, yeah. I think so, because I looked at it recently.
Bloodied was one of the few things I liked from 4th edition.
The what one?
Bloodied, when you got half hit points and you took a penalty. That made it feel like, okay, that's when you start getting hurt,
Low Fantasy Gaming has that as well, but they do a different implementation of it.
Yeah. I've worked on video games. There's all these kinds of systems that you can do depending on how you want to go about things, because it is kind of odd that, up until a certain point, up until the point where you're actually going to go down, like you can just keep getting shot and you're going to be fine. And then you get past a certain point, and then suddenly you just drop like a rock.
Yeah, it's one of the main things I don't like about Cyberpunk Red, as compared with older editions.
Yeah.
Does
For the
that just use
kaiju
a
game
hit
I'm
point
working on, oh, what's that?
I was asking Grim, does that Cyberpunk just use hit points too?
I thought you had
uses
penalties
hit
in Red
points
after
now.
a certain point.
Oh,
After halfway.
Yeah.
But Cyberpunk feels like it should be more gritty and visceral than that.
Yeah, well, compared to what 2021 was, yeah, but it's still more gritty than 5e, so.
Yeah.
Well, as I was saying, for the kaiju combat game I'm working on, I'm thinking about doing the opposite, where it's kind of like you have your burning heart mecha, like when you're damaged or when you have lower hit points, you actually go into like a heroic mode where you deal more damage, but potentially take more damage. So it's like, yeah, like you have that like rage going on. Thinking about going in that direction.
They did that. Grim mentioned 4th edition. I remember the Dragonborn race. When they got bloodied, they got a bonus. So when you got half your hit points, they actually got better at fighting.
Yeah, they had some nice mechanics that invoked that. Yeah, so like I said, one of the few things I liked about 4th Ed was the idea of bloodied.
I'll bring up low fantasy gaming here in a minute, but this is the vitality and wound points for Dungeons and Delvers, and as you can see, like as he puts it, it's like it's fatigue, it's near misses, minor scratches and bruises, and they come back pretty quickly when you take short rests, and you get vitality back pretty quick. And then you have your wounds, which are derived from your class and your con score, and they're like the more severe and mental and physical trauma. So like you could take some wound point damage, but if you manage to survive the combat and you rest up your vitality, you're going to at least get some of your buffer essentially before going into death spirals.
In Grimdark, I had morale and health. So you can spend your morale to reduce damage, add bonuses to rolls, and so on. But it's limited supply, and you probably want to keep it to deflect blows and reduce damage and so on to keep yourself alive. But that's what distinguishes heroes from NPCs and villains and so on. And it also provided a mechanic because the idea is that healing is very rare and difficult. So instead, if someone says a prayer over you, you don't get healed, but your morale is boosted by your faith or whatever.
The Witcher game that was done by our Telsorian Gaming had that was a very brutal system, especially the crits, because if they did above your dodge or defense, like the crits would just get worse at that point. It's like if it was 10 above, it was the serious crits, and that included like your character could just like lose an arm or get decapitated instantly from any attack. So it was,
But they put in wheelchairs, so lose your legs, fine.
I didn't have that for The Witcher. They had it first. I know they did that for Cyberpunk.
No, but they did that in The Witcher too. They released that recently. It was like a little supplement that added like wheelchairs and like basically like Magitech cybernetics.
In the series, the wheelchair in The Witcher was actually appropriate in that it would be functionally useless to go dungeoneering or anything.
Well, yeah, but can you imagine The Witcher in a wheelchair? Have you ever played the games and how much like Geralt like twirls and stuff like that while fighting monsters?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do that in a wheelchair? You're gonna do wheelies while you're fighting a
No.
It would make sense if you were like a lawkeeper and an alchemist back at their base or whatever. But
Grim, that would be great. Like, do a comic where Adventure gets crippled, but he's still like, I want to still go thing. So he's like in the wheelchair, and it's just not built for any of the dungeons or anything else. He just keeps getting himself fucked up.
He sues the villain for not having wheelchair accessible ramps.
This is this is the injury and healing system for low fantasy gaming. This is another system I like immensely. First off, your hit points are very low. They're derived directly from your constitution score. Your hit points are like your actual con score. Like if you have an 18 con, you have 18 hit points at first level, plus whatever your add-ons are, and then you only get like 1 hit point per level. So it's very low hit points to begin with. But yeah, like it says here, it's like when you're hit, your hit points are reduced. When they drop to half or below, they get staggered and display obvious signs of physical trauma. Some monsters will actually do different things when they get staggered in the game. And then it says, like generally when a monster's hit points fall to 0, it dies. When a PC hits 0, they fall unconscious and they're either all dead or mostly dead. You don't find out until someone turns the body over for a closer look. At that point, you have to make a con check, and you can use your reroll pool because that's part of the game. And on a success, you're only mostly dead.
I got that up.
Yeah, well, yeah, literally. But see, it's like on a failure, your corpse, you're dead, and that's it. But if you're just mostly dead, then yeah, after
Miracle Max can save you.
Well, kind of. It's like, yeah, after combat, the character can be stabilized by applying healing magic, stitching wounds, and so forth. As long as there's no immediate danger and ally renders aid, the near-death experience leaves a mark. So you have to roll on a injuries and setbacks chart, which is pretty extensive. I mean, you could have damaged magical items, you could have muscle tears or head injuries, which can give you some pestilent wounds.
As long as you don't go into fatal territory, you're fine.
Yeah. This can kind of contribute to a little bit of a death spiral, I suppose, because yeah, if you have like a pestilent wound or a head injury or something like that, yeah, it could affect your dungeoneering for a while. But I like this system just because it's, it makes the fights a little bit more memorable. If you went down, it's like you have a decent chance to survive, but you'll have something to remember the encounter by. I like both systems actually. If it were up to me, I would have like a vitality point system as a buffer for your wound points, for your actual hit points. And then yeah, when you went down, you'd have to roll on the all dead, mostly dead, and get your injuries and setbacks and stuff. To me, that would be just perfect, but I don't know. It's just me.
Delverse does have a lingering injury chart. I don't think it's as severe, but every time you go below 0 wound points, you have to roll, and it's modified by how much damage you took, like below, like you roll D100, you add the penalty, and then you add every round you were unconscious. And that can either be a temporary injury, or some of them are permanent. You can permanently lose stuff.
Okay. And see, that's good too. It's like, yeah, I do think that's one of the things I think is missing from 5e. It's like, yeah, okay, you've got the 3 save thing and then you're dead. My feeling is like, okay, if you got down to that point, you should have something to remember that encounter by, because it's like you almost died.
Or at least be harder to bounce back.
Yeah.
I took a rest and I got max hit points again the next day.
Yeah, that short rest crap, I think really nerfed D&D 5e badly, which I guess even they realized that, because I think, isn't that something they're removing from D&D 1?
Which is one of the things I don't really mind, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does. I think most DMs are kind of like, whew.
I was talking with the basic expert about 5e, and he called it like basically death by 1,000 cuts. And yes. I said, like, yeah, but the problem is you get to 999 and then they take a rest and you have to start all over again.
Literally.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a tool called D&D Combat Online, because I find the challenge ratings are no guide whatsoever to how difficult a fight will be. Use that and just up the amount of baddies and their challenge rating until you find whatever percentage likelihood of the party being killed feels right to you.
I just give them custom abilities that mess with the players, especially the meta gamers that already know, like, it's like, oh, this is a kobold, this is how I'm gonna handle it. Like, well, too bad, this kobold has, like, it can shoot spikes out of its tail that, like, poison you or something like that.
I think Elle says it was shut down.
I was using it the other day.
What's it called?
D&D Combat. Oh, well, service unavailable. I guess it's down.
Aww.
Oh, yeah, it's been retired. Damn.
Sorry. Rip. Well, the thing I found the other day still works. So, Speaking of which, we're getting close to time, and I know some of y'all have to leave pretty quick. So real quick, what I want to do is give a little bit of attention to people who need it, and that is just a moment. We're gonna go into zoomy land here for a second.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Zoom, zoom. Okay.
Zoom.
I picked it up
Okay.
yesterday.
Yeah. Troll Lord Games, guys who make Castles and Crusades, right now for Christmas, they have a holiday bundle. It's absolutely free. You don't have to buy anything, but you get all these PDFs, products. I'm going to tell you for the record, I own quite a few of these. I don't own all of them. I don't own this. I don't, but I do own this. Oh, wow. This is another adventure. This is pretty good. This is a series of small adventures. Those are pretty good. I don't have this. But I do have this, and it's very good. I highly recommend this just because it's useful. Even if you don't play Castles and Crusades, let's say you want to load up an adventure really quickly and you want to just give people a backpack full of crap that will suit them. You can go through here and find a pack of stuff, and players can be completely outfitted in a couple of minutes versus the all-night shopping trip, which aggravates me to no end.
Doesn't
Let
have
me
more
tell ya.
class options too, or am I misremembering?
Can I go to the armorer? I want to get some new scale mail.
No, you can die in a bloody heap. You are robbed. But yeah, there are also more classes and class options in here too. This alone would be worth the free price. But the fact that you are getting all this extra stuff, totally do it. And as you see, it's trolllord.com TLG store. So get up on there, get an account, get some free stuff. And if you like Castles and Crusades, get some. What's that?
I just downloaded it. I didn't know
There you
about
go.
Yeah, I grabbed it yesterday. I already wanted the Adventurer's Backpack. I just didn't want to feel like dropping the money on it last time because I was already spending like a shit ton of money to get like all the core books. But, yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I've used it quite a few times in my Castles and Crusades games and other games. And that's one of the things I will say about Castles and Crusades is even if you don't use their core system, which it's good, by the way, they have so much extra stuff that they pack into their game that is useful for your OSR game that it's worth it. And, you know, they always run discounts. Right now they're running a huge holiday discount. I think what their deal is, 20% off the entire order from $1 to $50. It's 10%. 100 and up is like 15%. 150 and up is 20% off. So it's a good deal. And they got lots of nice bundles at a discount.
Yeah.
Also, I want to throw a shout out to Greg's ongoing Indiegogo, which if you'll post that up for me, Greg, I'll link it to you.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. Is this it? Yeah, good.
Just getting it for myself.
Okay, so if you didn't know, Iries, Greg is he writes the Iries setting for D&D 5th edition. Well, he's releasing this new book on Indiegogo called Wilderkind, and it is an assortment of mythical animal character options for 5e and Castles and Crusades.
Indeed.
And it's really cool.
Yep. It's kind of an expansion in our first book where we didn't really flesh out a bunch of the animal races, but this one is going to correct that mistake. And I didn't want our first book to be too animal heavy, so that's the reason why, for obvious reasons. Like that would be like a third of the book. So I'm going to split that off and make a whole standalone thing where you can have like Redwall style characters for any fantasy campaign. It's Iries specific to our setting, but it is standalone. So all the lore and rules can stand alone for any campaign that you're running if you want to include those type of characters for a thematic flavor. So check it out. and it's not going to the moon. So, if you want to help me out there, that would be great. It's $10. I said it was 60 pages. It's probably going to be more like 70 or 80. The more stuff I add to it, it just keeps growing and growing.
Mm-hmm. And as I pointed out previously on the previous show, if you do spend the extra $5 to get the Iries book along with Wilderkin, it's a steal. Because the setting guide is so good. It's got so much stuff in it. It's got great background stuff. It's got neat gods. It's got wonderful artwork. It's got great character options. I can't say enough good things about it. It is really good.
Well,
and yeah, and on my channel, I'm not going to talk about gaming products that I don't like for the most part, unless it's something that's just really egregious. So if I'm talking about it on my channel, it's because I like it, I enjoy it, I will use it in my game because I want you to be able to enjoy it, use it in your game. And this is something I'm definitely going to buy and get into. Just gotta get a paycheck under my belt. But yeah, as you see, he's kind of struggling a little bit here. So if you're on the fence about it, you still got a little bit of time.
The Chenault guys, Steven Chenault, Trollord Games, they love it. They retweeted it. They promoted it on their Discord. So,
yeah.
Yep.
I need to get my furry friends
first
on the
backers.
case.
Yeah.
They were the first backers for it.
I need to get my furry friends on the case.
Yeah, you need to get that. This is going to be the last animal thing we do for a long time. Like, we're starting to be known for our animal stuff, and like, we're not necessarily everything that we're about. Like, it is it's a unique part of Iris, but we have more
to it.
Yeah, lean into it. Make that cash. Make that mysterious furry cash.
Get Doug Winger to do some art for you.
Winger art. Yeah.
Be careful, because if you get that furry orange, you'll get the money, but you'll also get the most disturbing shit.
Not gonna do that. Can't
about to say-
compromise the integrity of the setting.
I was gonna say, David, do you have any gamers at your table who are into animal creatures and stuff too?
My daughter might like. I think my wife would like something like that too. Like, hey, play animal creatures, but I don't know. It's for 5th edition.
And Castles and Crusades, yeah.
Oh, Castles and Crusades. Okay, well,
you could translate it to Delvers very easily.
We're in the process of moving, and we don't know how much money that's going to cost, but that's only $10. Let me think about it. Let me think. Christmas is coming up. Let me think about it.
Okay.
Probably, that should be doable.
No
Only $10.
Just keep in mind, all our stuff is like extremely old school. You're not going to find a lot of like shitty modern art. Like, everything I do is going to be awesome. So,
Are you using AI art?
No.
Yes.
He doesn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So there we go. Yeah, we support our friends on this channel, and we support everybody and if you haven't picked up a copy of Dungeons and Delvers from David, I would also recommend that. I can probably punch that up real quick too. The only place you can get it really is Big Geek Emporium. So if you haven't already checked that place out, you need to.
Big Geek Emporium is awesome.
Yes, they are. They're very good.
Not any sales from there in a while.
I think Joe dropped the commission, so he only takes like 1 to 5%.
Yeah.
Of sales now.
I've got a free download up there, which is kind of the prototype for the Wilderkin book. If you want to check it out, it's the Argent Drakenveer for OSE, Old School Essentials. It's just a 2-page guide, but free download. Check it out.
I've got an account on Big Geek, but I haven't uploaded anything yet.
Well, if you just want to get the PDF, it's $12.99 right now, so it's a discount a little bit. But
yeah, I put it on sale and I forgot to take it off sale. Then I thought, screw it, it's the holidays. I'll leave it up until the new year sometime.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you now, guys, $49.99. That book is super huge. It is super thick, and it's well made. It's from Lulu. Absolutely worth every dime. You're not going to pay $50 and get as much of a book out of Wizards of the Coast as you will out of this. That's a promise.
Like
I gotta
it
go.
doesn't exist.
People are waiting on me, but
Okay.
thanks for having me on like usual, and I'll see everyone next week.
All right, man. We'll see ya.
Yeah.
See you later.
Trying to see if I can find yours really quick. Greg, what was it called? Drakenbeer?
Yeah.
I think that's I helped troubleshoot that one because it had an issue early on. Yeah, I think this is one.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a issue where you could not upload a product without a price. You had to put the price as $0 in order for it to function.
Did we get that fixed now so you can actually do that, or do you still have to do whatever the heck we did to make it work?
I have no idea, actually.
Yeah, this is free. This is if you want to take a look at what Greg does for Iries. This is a great chance for you to do that, and it's for old school essentials. It's OSE, so yeah,
100% OSR compatible. You're not going to piss your players off by including a dragon race because these guys are very rare and they're very slow and they don't level up very quick. So don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's about that time. So we're going to go ahead and close down. Thank y'all for being with us. And like I said, today was mostly just chew on WOTC's ass day just because they continue to provide me with so many... Oh, Grim, did you have something?
No, it's just Whitechester. Buy it. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Is there a place where you can get a hard physical copy still, or is it
I'm getting there. I'm getting
for
there.
Whitechester, you can still get it at Lulu. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would be remiss if I did not let Grim shill his stuff too.
Because part of me does regret not backing for a physical copy, and so I might just have to go do that.
Yeah, if you want it, go to postmort.com. Go get Whitechester. It's £19.99, which I don't know what that translates into in American dollars.
$1 million
right now.
bajillion dollars.
Eh.
Well, no, we ended up near parity to the dollar. So,
and yeah, this is for the digital download. Yeah, $49.99 for that paperback.
It's about
from
$25 for the PDF.
Ooh. So yeah, jump on this. Jump on it fast. Worth it.
500 pages of heavy goodness. And the people who've got their copies all seem very happy with it.
I like it.
But I need people who like it and have bought it to evangelize about it. Because I'm terrible at marketing. I even spent money on adverts, but I didn't know what I was doing. So it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
That's why there are specialists that get paid to do that.
Yeah.
And
it.
Let me tell you guys, if you ever want to see your players get covered in shit, I did everything I could when I wrote my particular little section to make sure that players got covered in shit. So yeah, this is it. Buy Whitechester, cover your players in shit.
And one person who mailed me said it fixes Morkborg as well by making it work as a system and having character classes that don't suck.
All right.
Thank you, Cardinal.
What you want.
I think T-Shirted needs a covered in shit clip to play from now on because he's going to be infamous for that.
I totally do. I need somebody to go into Whitechester. I would like somebody to do a live play Whitechester just so I can see them go to the Gong Farmers and see who gets buried in shit.
Get the clip from Back to the
people who are
Future.
setting up campaigns. Oh, yeah.
Manure! I hate manure!
I hate manure.
That clip.
Oh, there's a clip if you've ever played House of the Dead Overkill.
Yes.
When the warden character comes, he just talks about how he needs to take a piss and goes in this overly elaborate explanation of it and then does it. It's like 3 minutes straight. It's great.
I have that game. I need to get to that part. I need to finish it. But my carpal tunnel is just killing me. So I can't keep up with the speed of the game because I'm old.
You just gotta go play Typing of the Dead instead.
I have that also, yeah.
Help. Purple tunnel for sure.
Overkill is an amazing game.
It is. Overkill is amazing.
Just because of the presentation writing, it's one of my favorite games ever. Motherfuck! Ladies and gentlemen, the Infinite Tact of Isaac Washington.
I do have one thing to end on. We didn't get to talk about this today, but I would feel bad if we didn't at least show this. World premiere for us.
How many times you willing to get burned before you stop trusting someone? How many times you gotta take a bullet for these motherfuckers in the name of empty promises? Politicians, military runners, intelligence operatives, all the rotten fish in one fucking barrel, this dog town. Tell me you've got a plan.
Not a plan. A man. If there's anyone we can trust now, it's him.
It's Idris Elba.
Solomon Reed, FIA.
So, what do we do now?
Dogtown. Burn it to the ground's what we'll do. It's a simple choice. Them or us. Peace comes at a price. Someone's always got to pay.
Game Awards, what's up? It's Idris Elba here, and I just want to let you know how excited I am to play NUSA agent Solomon Reed in Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Can't wait for you guys to meet Reed when Phantom Liberty releases in 2023.
What do y'all think, guys? You excited?
I mean, the thing is, I'm just kind of sick of seeing, the big A-list celebrities going and doing the voice talent, considering that's going to eat up a lot of budget with these games, and that's going to cause further bloat. It's a lot of actors getting into the mindset. It's just the reality of people realizing video games make way more money. They're all going there.
Well, they're making more money than Hollywood right now.
By the way, I was on
the
our Telsorian Games Discord circuit conversation with Cody, and I did get some confirmation that they're doing an Edge Runners, stuff for the tabletop, and there's also a 2077 source book in the works.
Hey, do me a favor. You're in contact with Cody?
No, I just asked him on the Discord. I can.
Okay, yeah. Can you ask him
if you want?
Yeah, can you tell him that I want to talk to his dad?
No, I'm a random Discord minion. I'm not like friends with him. Jesus.
Oh, damn. Mike Pondsmith, someday you will talk to me.
That's it.
You will talk to me, Pondsmith.
I'm sure Idris Elba's character model isn't going to end up horribly abused on Pornhub.
Like Keanu Reeves's was?
Keanu Reeves's one totally wasn't.
I still love Keanu's response, though, when he found out that happened and the guy was telling him. He was like, that's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you had a good time tonight. I thought the conversation was really good, guys. Definitely a lot more we could discuss about all this. We could probably go on about it all night, but I know you guys have lives, and some of y'all are tired, and it's late. So,
Fuck Wizard to the Coast. Fuck them.
Yeah.
With the rusty metal baseball bat.
Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
Play anything else.
Yeah, play anything else. Play Dungeons and Delvers. Play low fantasy gaming. Play Iries. Play anything else. Just
play with yourself.
Play Morkborg.
Yeah, play. Okay.
I said play anything else.
Okay, fine. Speaking of which, Ironcaster, congratulations on finally getting your OSE.
It took forever, and I was afraid for the longest time that I didn't give them an address. So while I'm watching everyone else get their copy, I'm sitting there like, am I getting mine anytime, guys?
Hey, I got my copy of Blade Runner recently, so I'm happy about that.
Oh, I you know what? I kickstarted that, and I didn't have enough money to pay for it, so I didn't pre-order it. So you have to let me know if it's any good.
That's one of those ones I don't think is going to work very well for an RPG, though.
I don't either. I think it's going to be a novelty like that Star Trek The Next Generation role-playing game that I have over there.
I'm telling you, man, it's the D20 days all over again.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Appreciate everybody out there. And anybody who tipped, thank you very much. Double. We'll see you next week. And until then...
On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.